Welcome, everyone. Happy Black History Month. I'm so excited to be supporting this event hosted by Build ERG. As you know, our theme this year's Black History Month is Black Excellence. Black excellence can be defined as being resilient and successful no matter the circumstances. As Glassdoor employee Reginald Missouri eloquently states, Black excellence is the outcome of a people that has been historically disenfranchised, oppressed, hated, discriminated against, and despite all of that, continues to successfully rise up against all odds to be the very best it can be. On an individual level, it's being the best version of you while overcoming the unique and ongoing obstacles the Black community faces. So today, we'll explore the professional and professional narratives of our amazing panelists who exemplifies Black excellence and Black girl magic. We'll speak with these four dynamic Black women leaders in the tech industry to understand how they navigate success, view the term Black excellence, and inspire others to live their truth authenticity. We're excited to welcome Adrienne Tucker, HR Director at Netflix, Rachel Williams, Head of Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity at X, the Moonshot Factory, Heath, Director, Market Engagement at LinkedIn, and Misty Gaither, Director, Global Head of Diversity and Inclusion at Indeed. Thank you in advance to our panelists for speaking today. As a reminder to the audience, after our fireside chat with our awesome panelists, we'll be accepting all questions that are placed within the Zoom Q&A chat. Put your questions in the Q&A feature in Zoom, and Alicia will fill the questions at the end of this panel. So let's kick this chat off with panelist introductions. Adrienne, could you please introduce yourself for us?
Of course, I'm so happy to be back with my Glassdoor people. I know many of you and have missed you. I'm Adrienne Tucker. I'm an HR business partner at Netflix, supporting the client UI and engineering group there. I've worked in HR for most of my career. I'm based out of Oakland. And for those of you who don't know, I had the honor to work and privilege with our people team briefly here at Glassdoor.
Awesome, thank you. Rachel, could you go next?
Good morning, and happy Black History Month, Black Future Month. How about that? I am Rachel Williams. I'm the head of Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity for X, the Moonshot Factory. Most of you may have not heard of X, but is the secret lab of Alphabet, parent company to Google. I've been in tech for about 20 years, born and raised in the Bay, so Bay stand up. Born in San Mateo, home of Tom Brady. That's right, we are champions. I have always worked in tech, mostly as a headhunter. In the last probably 8 years, turned to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Thank you, Rachel. Ty, could you introduce yourself?
Happy Black History Month, everyone, and thanks so much for creating this space for conversation. I'm Heath, Director of Marketing Engagement at the B2B Institute, which is a think tank that sits inside of LinkedIn. Imagine a research university is sort of dropped into a tech company. So we investigate how marketers can create more value. I also had the honor of being LinkedIn's Black Inclusion Group Vice President and then President. And during that time founded a conference called Transform Her, which I'm excited to share a little bit more about today. And I just love that ERGs are a catalyst for propelling things forward. So super excited to be here.
Thank you. Misty, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Happy Black History Month, everyone. I am Misty Gaither, the Director and Global Head of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging at Indeed, your sister company. I've been at Indeed for a little over a year, and I actually started as a business partner supporting our technology leaders. I have only been in tech for about 3 years, and I did a hard pivot out of corporate America, if you will, having been at JPMorgan and Altria in primarily sales and business development roles. And so my entry into the DE&I space was through Code 2040, leading their business development efforts. And I got a taste of what it would be like to work at a tech company. I am also here in Oakland. I'm a California native. I am from Southern California. And I am so happy and excited to share the stage with these awesome women today.
Wow. Thank you all for introducing yourself. I'm super excited to kick off this conversation. So let's do it. So, this is a question for you all. What does Black excellence mean to you?
All right. I was waiting for other people to unmute, so I will go ahead and answer. I think you gave us an amazing introduction of what Black excellence means. When I think about the term, as I was reflecting on what it means to me, and then also reading a little bit more about what, it means in the media, a couple of words stand out to me. I think it's complex. I think it is very much layered. I think it is a mindset, and I think that it is ever evolving. And ultimately, I think it could be a very beautiful thing. And so I think it is really us always looking for ways to improve, to uplift, to invite ourselves into spaces that are not always prepared for us or ready for us. And really just continuing to uplift the community. And I think it is obviously more than a month. It is not just a movement, it is truly a lifestyle.
Misty, you took the words out of my mouth. I was like, oh, Black excellence is a mindset. And then I wrote down, it's a lifestyle, right? So, and so I love that you did that. To me, Black excellence is this. It is a celebration of who we are, and not so much a focus of from whence we came, right? It's really of like knowing that and feeling ourselves even more because of what our ancestors were able to overcome. And even day to day, what we have to overcome just to be fabulous, and we still are. That's Black excellence to me. It also is holding people like us, Black people, up to a higher standard than they even understand they can hold themselves. And then also offering help when they need a little bit of push to keep themselves fabulous and excellent. So that's me.
Well, I better go next because both of y'all stealing all my, let me hurry up and get before Ty just takes it all. I actually do think about history quite a bit and from whence we came. That gives me and propels me to excellence. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and I had a conversation, as is Misty, as is Dominique. So wanted to give big ups to my sorority sisters here, as is our current vice president of the United States. And I had a conversation with an older sorority sister who is in her 80s yesterday. And she shared with me that the reason the sorority was started was to exemplify Black excellence. And I was like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more about that. And the sorority was founded in 1908. So thinking back to what those women went through to even congregate, to even build a sorority of this nature that has lasted 100+ years, you really have to stay focused on positivity, on being, I think she described it as determination, resilience, and very little conversation about the challenges and things that are going on. We stay focused on persevering, overcoming, being resilient, and being excellent. So that's what it means for me. Every single moment I'm representing the ancestors, and I know at some point I will become an ancestor. So Black excellence.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Just, echoing everything that's being said, it is about honoring and celebrating what we've been able to achieve against all odds. When you think about Black excellence, what we've been able to accomplish, given the obstacles we faced, is remarkable. I think there's one thing to consider that we don't talk about as much when we talk about Black excellence, because I think, especially with everything going on, there's a lot of pressure. There's a conversation also in our community that you've probably heard at some point, which is that you have to work twice as hard, you have to be twice as smart and do all of the things. And so I think when it comes to Black excellence, I think it's about making sure it's an aim, but not a requirement. There's an inherent worthiness that comes with who we are, and a pride in given all the obstacles we should accomplish. It's not about burning yourself into the ground to prove your worthiness. You are worthy. And what we've done in spite of all those odds is really, really, really remarkable. So let's not forget that. I'm so proud of what we've done as a people.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. To pivot a bit to Rachel, you are working at X, the moonshot company. You previously worked at Yelp and StubHub. What led you to work at tech, and what has been your experience as a Black woman working in tech at these major?
Well, that's a loaded, I mean, y'all just setting me up, huh? Look, I born and raised in the Bay Area. I felt like I had no choice but to be in tech. I grew up in San Mateo, which is now considered to be kind of in the heart of Silicon Valley. I remember when Google was a startup, and I was like, what a silly name for a company. Yeah, missed the mark on that one. I've just always been interested in the fact that the technology that the world uses is built right here. Also, I was a headhunter, and I recall, giving offers mainly to white men that included something called stock options. Now, I'm 23, 24 years old. My mother grew up in Louisiana during Jim Crow South. She knows nothing. She's a hairdresser. She had her own business, small business owner. She didn't know anything about stock options. That was not a conversation at the Williams household. So as a recruiter, extending offers and looking at like the possibility of financial gain, that of course was very interesting to old Rachy Rach. So there was no way I was not going to be in tech. What I did not know was that I was going to be in tech in this way, that I was going to be on this side of the business, what I call an internal, activist, really, fighting for change, knowing that it's going to be hard. My mother is surprised, like I said, as someone who grew up in Jim Crow South, having to drink from different fountains and sit in the back of restaurants and sit in the back of buses. And she came to California fleeing the terror that they experienced in Louisiana. She can't believe that I do this every day. She is quite concerned. I have to rest her mind at ease every day that I'm not going to be fired. I'm not, like, they actually hired me to talk about the thing. And we talk about the thing. So I don't know. I just felt like I didn't have a choice. I feel like this is a calling. I feel like this is about closing the wealth gap. This is about making sure that the wealth that is being created is shared equally, that we are part of it. Some of y'all may have known I've been a part of a startup that went public, and I wasn't there for it to go public. So Rachel Williams actually has a story of missing out on millions of dollars because I lacked the understanding of what it meant to be fully vested. That's a whole conversation that we can have on another day.
So Rachel, just to challenge you a bit, what is the thing that you are talking about that you address in your role?
Yeah, I think the thing is equity. And I know we have so many titles, I heard someone call it JIBS. So there's justice, inclusion, belonging. And I didn't even know what the S was, but I was like, okay, so now we're Chief JIBS. I am focused on equity because that is the systemic change that needs to happen, right? I'm about legacy work. So leaving a place better than I found it for people that I will never ultimately meet. I am not about the performative. I am not about, like, inclusion is great, include me, but include my dollars, include my value, include my brain power. It goes beyond that. So I'm focused on equity, which is why it is the first word in my title, if you will, because I want people to understand that there were barriers for some, advantages for other, built in this country, and that our organizations cannot be exempt from that. There's no way. It's a system within a system within a system. So I am about that equity life. Honestly, okay. That's the thing for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Misty, you are the Director, Global Head of D&I and B at Indeed. Can you talk about a time when you navigated tricky dynamics around race or other identities in your work or within the office or virtually?
When I saw this question, I was like, how am I going to answer this? So, because I can only see the panelists, I am going to talk to my girlfriends. It happens more times than I would like for it to happen. And so there are two specific instances that come to mind. And so obviously last year was something none of us could have ever predicted. We never thought we would experience it. And so I think one of the most tricky times where I've had to navigate, being a Black woman is when someone directly asked me like a all lives matter question in front of their organization on the spot. Yes, imagine my reaction. And so, I mean, that's just one extreme example. And you guys are probably like, well, what did you say? So, this is what I said. I said, let's just take a step back. I said, because what I hear you saying in reality is like an all lives matter question, because they tried to button it up and make it sound really intelligent. And so, what I love about my job is that I get to say hard things to people in positions of power. And to Rachel's point, include me, diversity and visible diversity is very important, but I'm looking at systemic issues in how you conduct yourselves, how you conduct your meetings, how you build processes, et cetera. So what I said is, I had to walk this person back to how we actually provided support for all groups that were experiencing the social injustice and the global pandemic in very different ways. So it wasn't until I helped this person understand how we prioritize the Asian community, how we prioritize parents and caregivers, to help her understand that prioritizing Black people right now is not a problem. What it speaks to is an issue with anti Black racism. And thankfully, Billie Eilish had an amazing analogy. And so I just had to throw that into the conversation. I said, let me just help you understand. If I am cut, you are worried about my cut. You are not worried about everybody else's cut and bleeding. And so that's why we're focused on Black people right now. And then in a more personal experience, when I'm having difficult conversations and helping some of our most senior leaders understand that when they have high attrition of a specific group of people, that it is a business problem that they are failing to address. And so then they like to act like they don't understand. And so I'm like, I think you understand what I'm saying, but I think what you might be having trouble with is me presenting this information to you. So that's something that you have to work through, and I can help you with that. But it happens every day, and it's also layered. I mean, we all have a very youthful look. So it's not just about being Black, it's also being a Black woman. It's also appearing to be younger, which they equate to less experience and having to prove why you were there. There are so many other facets of this conversation. And so, again, it is just kind of owning the space. And I'm not exempt from imposter syndrome. I sound really confident now, but we have moments. But it's recognizing, that I deserve to be here. I'm here for a reason. I'm the only person here. So they're looking for something from me. And so I may as well perform and address it. And it's none of my business how they feel about the information I present, but I'm there to help them learn and grow. So that's how I handle some of those situations.
Excellent. Thank you for providing that example and going back to value, kind of shedding that imposter syndrome and really owning who we are as individuals and how we can ladder up that to the collective has been extremely important to identify within my professional and personal practice. So thank you for that. Um, Moving on. So, this is a question for all of you. How did you reach your level of success given the industry's gender and race gap, especially among leadership, tech leadership specifically? Anyone want to kick this off?
I can hop in here.
Ty?
Yeah, before we go any further, I just have to acknowledge Misty. I mean, it takes a measure of courage, but when you can't deny truth, when you're speaking truth and you stay focused on that message. I mean, it takes something. It definitely takes something. And I think, you know, there's a bit of a dissonance. And as all of the panelists said, there's complex layers that point to why is there inertia around a lot of these topics. You know, some of it ranging from lack of awareness to a disconnect between what people's stated preferences are about what they prioritize and care about and the revealed preferences that people have. And so if we're going to unravel this, you know, it's also about getting to the cultural level, what's going on within the business, and having very real and often messy and uncomfortable conversations, but that's what leadership looks like. And so, you know, I'm just in admiration of the statements I'm hearing today. And, you know, in talking about, just sort of flipping to your question about how do you achieve success, I think a key thing, you know, starts with going at addressing the systems that keep things in place. So dismantling that, because there's often a conversation about how we need to upgrade our skills and fix things. And I think, you know, the lack of progress that we are seeing is not because of a lack of ambition. It's not because of a lack of capability of doing the thing. So that let's start there. Let's come at the system level. Let's look at what people are prioritizing. Let's address the bias. So we need to look at that. Outside of that, I think one of the things that we can do is look at this formula that's been really great for me. It's performance, image, and culture. Performance, image, and exposure, PIE. And I don't know if people have heard about this before, but performance, consistently performing, being someone that when you give your word to deal and move things forward, that thing will be done, and to do that consistently. From there, to really think about what your image is. What are people saying about you before they meet you? And how do you cultivate that? I'm going to go ahead and say it. So LinkedIn, one of the first things you can do is build out your LinkedIn profile. Before people meet you, one of the first things they'll do is search your name. What's being said? What story are you telling? What is your image? What's the brand? What's the message? What are you passionate about? What are you committed to? What do you aspire to create? And then your exposure, you know, becoming someone who can communicate a vision and bring people along for that journey, whether it's something small in a team meeting to something massive that you're passionate about and taking on. So just to wrap it up, you know, really looking at that PIE formula: performance, image, and exposure.
Come on, Ty.
Thank you. I'm taking notes.
Let me get my notebook out.
Right. That was fabulous. Thank you. I'm taking notes, and I'm sure others are as well. Adrienne, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would. You know, to the question about level of success, I think it started at home for me, right? So growing up, I grew up in North Carolina. I'm extremely close with my family. And when I think about what they went through way before me, and the foundation that they laid out motivates me. But we often spoke about ideas, very intellectual conversations. Success was a destiny, not an aspiration. My family, we're a Black college family. And so, you know, when we talked about college, it was these colleges, right? Like, we go to Black colleges. And so I had the honor to go to North Carolina Central undergrad, which is a Black college, a historically Black college, and then Howard University, the university of our vice president, for grad school. And so, but that for me affirmed what I knew at home, that I am good. I'm in fact great. And it also opened my eyes to the diversity within our culture. And so it gave me an appreciation of, if I'm looking for someone to do something, I don't need to look beyond myself, and myself means my people as well. And so that there was a pride there. I will admit now, with that, like, wind behind my back, my ancestors, root me on. When I got to corporate America, it was tough because I realized, oh, not everybody is gonna treat me like that. Like, not everybody is gonna, like, be really excited that I'm here. And so, when Misty mentioned imposter syndrome, man, I had it bad, right? But then I just kept going, and what was already instilled in me was that this is not a question. It's just about the win. And I will say, for everyone who's listening, it wasn't until I took some time to really feel myself and just be myself that I felt like my career took a turn. When I started showing up just as Adrienne, with all of that behind me as myself, the skies opened. And so then I tell people, young and old now, like, try being yourself and like see how your career is about to turn around. Like, just be yourself. And that's something you can consistently do. So I think family and pride in self is huge.
Thank you
Can
for sharing that, Adrienne.
I add a tip to that? I want to, because I love all this Black girl magic, and Adrienne, you alluded to it. You walk into these spaces. I used to spend 2 weeks looking for somebody else like me, like skulking around the halls, like looking at conference rooms, like where, and then being disappointed after my search turns up cold. You know what I'm saying? So I think there is a conversation to be had, because there's still these spaces that exist where we don't exist, where we still have to find a way to advance. And I think for me, it was the realization that we're all in systems of power, multi-layered systems of power, capitalism, racism, sexism, I can name, the whole thing. And it's important to understand where the source of power is in your company, where the source of, as I call, circle of influence is. Get to know the business. So whatever your job is, whether you're in marketing or whether you're in sales, get to know the whole business, not just your business. And once you really understand how the company is making money, losing money, all of the things, start to align yourself with the people that are in the circle of influence. Have coffees with them. My mentors and my sponsors had to be white men, because there was no Black woman above me, to the side of me. Like, I looked. And so I'm not going to go without tutelage and coaching and mentorship and sponsorship. So I sought out some very powerful men in my organizations, had coffee with them. I came to the table knowing more about not just my role, but my role within the entire business and understanding the business. And they were willing to go to bat for me time and time again. I said, so don't be discouraged by the fact that you're not. Like, how you advance is aligning yourself with power, learning from the people who are in those places, because there's something to be learned. It doesn't have to be the same demographic. I've learned a lot from some of the white men that I've been surrounded by. So use what you got, in other words, I guess is kind of my message in terms of how you get to where you want to go.
Thank you.
I want to echo real quick, agreed. And in those spaces, my mentors and my board of directors, right? Those people who are going to move mountains for me, they have rarely been Black. And it's not because of lack of wanting to, it's exposure. And so it's been white women. And I would be remiss to be on this platform and not call out one of my greatest mentors and supporters, who's the head of people here today, Karina Cortez. Karina met me when I was just starting out in the Bay Area, and I was working on a project for her and with her team, and then it elevated to work with her. And she took me under her wings and developed me, invested in me, taught me, offered me friendship. And that was what happened to move me forward. And that was when beneath my wings. So it's true that it doesn't have to look, it doesn't always have to look like it doesn't look like us. They're everywhere. Be open to it.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing here collectively for the panelists is that it's important to find mentors or sponsors that don't look like you, and to come to these companies and spaces as your authentic self, which I know Ty encourages with from her conference at LinkedIn. You were a co-founder of the Transformer Conference at LinkedIn, the annual conference and online forum to create a network of women who can share ideas and resources to transform their careers. As a marketing professional and leader, what recommendations and best practices do you have for women looking to grow in their careers?
Yes, so absolutely. I don't know if Misty, you look like you're about to add something real quick. I don't want to skip that.
Thanks, Ty. I appreciate that. I just wanted to say yes to everything you all said. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about like the relational aspect of how we all elevated and the power of our sisterhood. I've had plenty of conversations with Rachel, and I think there's an element of transparency and vulnerability that we have to be willing to undergo so people can help us rise in our careers. And we sometimes don't feel like we're prepared, and other people feel like we're prepared. So listen to those people. And the reason why I'm in the role I'm in today, the first person to put me in a room and I was like, are you serious? You want me to go and do this for you? Like, you're the CEO. And that was Laura Weedman Powers, the original CEO of Code 2040. And so that opened up my network to venture capitalists, founders. And that's how I really got like intimate with these companies to understand what was happening. And my boss, LaFawn Davis, who most people know and love, I continue to kind of stand on her shoulders, but stand in my shoes, because we are definitely a balance in how we approach the work. But without me like admitting what I don't know, but being comfortable enough, like I don't know that I would be here. And also taking a huge risk. My family thought I was absolutely crazy to leave this amazing job at JPMorgan Chase to go work for a 35-person startup. So there are risks associated with elevating. And then also there's also growth that happens when unforeseen circumstances hit, like a layoff. And I think we don't often talk about the growth that happens in some of your most like darkest moments. So that might be a conversation for another day, but I think the relationship, openness, and trusting yourself enough to share what really you want to accomplish. Thanks, Ty.
You're gonna make me cry over here.
Absolutely. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
So to answer this question, so Dominic, I have to actually honor you as an example here, because so let me back up. The Transform Her conference is a conference focused on moving things forward as a community with women of color and active allies. It's a conversation that's an inquiry into action. So how do we move past challenges that we face, that we're all very familiar with, to action, provide more resources to advance, and also to have people leave more well-connected than when they stepped into the event. And so, in the conversation about, mentors and sponsors and making sure that you have a board of advisors around you, what I'm also hearing in this conversation is the support that we have for each other. So just looking to your left and your right, and uplifting and amplifying each other's voices, standing up for each other in meetings, and even across the boundaries of our companies. And so I'm just going to talk about you for a second, Dominique, because you came to the Transform Her event and you wrote about it. And I can't tell you how much I appreciated that, because it provided a window and an access into the work for other people to then discover it. And these are the types of things that we can do to support each other. When you see someone being great, when you see that Black excellence, to shout it out. And that doesn't have to only be within the confines of your tech company. So Transform Her is really about investing in yourself, which then translates and manifests itself in the strength of our community. And then hopefully with that, we can start to move some of these things forward. So I would just point to a couple things that I hope that people take away from Transform Her and this conversation today. And one of them is just to get the work of a leader is getting comfortable being uncomfortable, saying the things that need to be said, understanding the power of networks and community. I understand in tech, we've said this, a number of us has said this today, we're often the only ones in a room. Sometimes we might be one of very few in an organization. But what's powerful is for us to come together across boundaries to move, so that when you are struggling with something, you're not alone in that. So you don't have to do anything by yourself if you have a community and you roll together. And then finally, I would say just take up space. And I've heard that, one of my favorite quotes by Elaine Welteroth, I think is like, when the world tells you to shrink, expand. Because everything in this world, the way we're socialized, is telling us we don't matter and that you're invisible. You don't see yourself reflected. We need to remind ourselves to expand in the face of that every single day. And so Transform Her is an event where you will see yourself reflected. You will leave uplifted and inspired, and hopefully focused on whatever action that you're going to take as a result of that experience. So it's happening on Friday, March 19th. So I'm just going to plug it right here, right now. We do have a landing page live. If I can, I'm going to pop it into the chat so people can see it and register.
I want to go.
Yes.
Please
Absolutely.
come. Yes.
It's absolutely life-changing. I'm not just saying that because I covered it for Forbes a couple of years back. I am saying it because, I like these ladies on the panel feel like I needed to pivot into a career that's really meaningful, and to help my surrounding communities. And all these ladies have mentored me in some capacity, whether we're sorority sisters like Misty and I. Rachel is also my sorority sister, but she's more of a big sister to me. Ty and Adrienne have been really inspirational, and Adrienne, while she was at Glassdoor, has definitely guided me to see the light. So I'm very, very honored to be breaking bread and sharing this space with all of you. And I don't take these relationships for granted. So thank you, Ty. And we're going to move on to Adrienne. As an HR leader with 15 years of experience, you have worked on everything from recruiting to org design. How do we get more women, Black, Indigenous, and POC in particular to senior level and executive positions?
I think the first one is actually internally, right? Like in the corporation. So right now it always feels like, well, where are they? Remember those like binders full of women from years ago that thought of like, do you remember that whole scandal? But I feel like from a corporate recruiting standpoint, specifically in leadership positions, it's coming from a scarcity mindset. Where are they? We can't find them. We keep recruiting the same people in the same area, but excuse. And so I think the first part is actually taking bold action to recruit senior leaders who are Black for Black History Month, but also who are people of color, right? For all the other months, like actively go and recruit them, build those relationships up, and don't think of it as you're doing them a favor. Okay, talk to them like you would those senior executives that Rachel was recruiting and giving those RSUs to. Court them as you would any other senior executive, so that you're really actually like court them, right? That Southern term, right? Actually like wine and dine me, all right? Like make sure because I'm gonna work really hard for you, so make sure that the offer is very attractive. So I think that's first, like changing the mindset. To that other point, I think to something Misty brought up of like, when people say you're ready and you don't think so, believe them. Like just say, I'm gonna jump up, I'm gonna take the challenge. And so there are people in this organization right now who could ascend to higher levels of leadership right now. What's stopping us from doing that, right? Like those women, those Black women who are in this organization, like could they be successful a couple levels up more? I'm sure they could. Give them a chance and the support. So I think that's another piece. And then finally, I will add for us, and I'm going to talk to my girlfriends here, we have to believe we belong there, okay? And so once all that happens and we get in there and our ancestors are clapping for us, we have to believe we belong there. And when we think we're faltering, we turn to each other and we turn to our family and our friends to say, I'm struggling with this and I need some help. And so those are my big tips. Get rid of the scarcity mindset, take bold action internally, and believe that we belong here.
Oh, thank you, Adrienne. Does anyone want to add on to that?
Can you repeat the question? Because Adrienne had me all wrapped up.
How do we get more women, Black, Indigenous, POC in particular, to senior level and executive positions?
Yeah. I honestly believe in the power of formal mentorship programs, period. So I'm a kind of person that sought out, like, did my whole mapping of the organization. Where's the circle of influence? Let me get a coffee with him, and did it. Like, we need companies to actually take that burden off of the individual to do that and orchestrate purposefully a formalized mentorship program, connecting them to power right off the bat without them having to ask. I think, to me, that really moves the needle in terms of advancement for women. I think demystifying promotion management processes is another thing that companies can do, spending more time with the ERGs and helping them to prepare whatever it is your process is. And look, I've been in some companies where it is a whole entire thesis of which you have to write and prepare. And so, you know, how do you write your 32-page thesis with all of the annotations and the documentation to support, right? So helping women to prepare and people of color to prepare, and mentorship throughout their time at the organization are two things that I say I know work.
Thank you. Can we just talk a little bit about mentorship versus sponsorship and how it is important as Black women to get more of that sponsorship? Because within organizations, because I have a board of mentors, some are on this panel right now, and just outer support, whether it's C-suite members or sorority sisters, but sometimes what's lacking is the sponsorship inside the organization. And I think there is a specific way to navigate that. And it'll be great to get some tips for people on this channel.
Super facts. I'm just going to kick this one off. You see me jumping at this one because, I mean, to the point that Rachel was just making, there's a whole process. Like, what we need to start brass tacks breaking down is succession planning and the reality of what that looks like, and just raw human behavior, and what it means, how that shows up in a business setting. When there is a senior roles within any company become open fewer and farther in between than entry level roles. How do those senior level roles get sourced? So to Adrienne's point, you can either recruit that senior talent from outside of the business, or you nurture that talent within the business. A sponsor is someone who will, a mentor coaches and helps you along. A sponsor is someone who is going to go to bat for you and stand up for you and position you for those types of roles. So imagine this: if you're a sales leader, there are particular skills that a sales leader needs to have, a certain amount of experience that sales leader needs to have. In that succession planning, for them to make a decision that that's you, there needs to be a comfort level and a confidence that you can do that. And oftentimes it goes to the people that they already know and are familiar with and have worked with. That person is often being groomed. And so what we need to start doing is thinking about how are we a part of these succession conversations, and then how do sponsors help position you when it comes to, okay, this person's going to leave, like within a year, 2 years. How can we make sure that Misty, that Adrienne, that, you know, that all of us are in a place where there's no question that you're in line for that, because that's what's already happening. We're just not inserting ourselves into that the way that I know we could.
I think the main thing between a mentor and a sponsor is about power and influence, really, because mentors, you can have them in different spaces in your company, outside of your company. But a sponsor is someone probably really close to your direct line of leadership. Like, give you an example. Before I got hired back at a company that rhymes with help, the COO of the company specifically went to bat for me when through the interview process, a few folks voiced their opinions that they didn't think that I was like really down to do the job. Like, what? And so he came back to me and said, so because he's the COO, I shut it all down. I basically told them, appreciate your feedback, but that's exactly why I'm hiring her, because she thinks differently. And here you go. And so it's like, that is sponsorship at a whole different level. That was a power move. He knew my work product from working with me before. He put it on the line. And what's the interesting thing about sponsors is that it's really low risk for them to do so. He was white and male, very low risk to them going to bat for an underrepresented minority such as myself. So they should be doing that more. That should be happening all over the place. There is risk to women of color going to bat on behalf of on a very frequent basis because of the power dynamic. So just wanted to point out that I think the really big difference between a sponsor and a mentor, sometimes a mentor can be both, but the sponsorship is the one that with the power moves, the ability to make the power moves.
Absolutely. Adrienne, did you?
I just discovered that raise hand feature. So I thought I'd try it out with the black hand. So one of the big distinctions I want to make on the sponsor versus mentor is that mentor, you can make the request, right? Like, I want you to mentor me and we're going to work together because I see something in you. Sponsors come out of nowhere, right? They can come out of nowhere. Let me say that. And so it's using that pie equation that Ty talked about earlier, and you're doing your work. I think about you, like you doing your work, you're being your fabulous self, you're showing up, and someone goes, you know what, I like what's going on here, and their work is good. And when we have succession planning, I'm going to actually just mention, like, it's Rachel's time, and get that crowd support. And so a mentor is someone who's going to work with you one-on-one, like it's been said. A sponsor, you might not even know what they contributed until it's already done, right? Until it's too long ago to even thank them. So what I want to say to everyone is keep working that pie method, because you're getting sponsorship as you're doing your awesome work. Just keep that in mind.
Thank you. I really hate to kind of wrap this conversation up. I feel like we need a part 2 or something. Maybe we can invite you all back for just a follow-up discussion, but just a quick fire round of what accomplishment are you most proud of to date? Anyone want to kick it off? Misty?
I was hoping not to go first on this one. I think I'm most proud of the work that I've been able to accomplish at Indeed in a short amount of time, because I have been the first to establish my role at 2 tech companies as a business partner. So I was a business partner at Twilio, the first to hold that role. And then when I came to Indeed, I've transformed an organization and now I'm fully responsible. And so the work that I'm proud of are the systemic changes to processes that we're talking about that I've been able to transform. So succession planning, our promotion process. And it's because I, again, say the hard things. And I ask the question, I'm like, help me understand. Is this like this because that's just how it's always been? Or is there like context you can share? And then I make a recommendation. So at the very least, I need women's representation on whoever's reviewing X, Y, and Z. And sometimes I'm shocked at how easy it is for things to happen. But I think that is what I'm most proud of because I continue to do that in other spaces. And I think the final thing is most companies are people, customers, profitability. And I recognize an opportunity for us to focus more on our people OKRs and how we actually evaluate performance there. And so that is being implemented for 2021 in partnership with our HRBP group. And so that is a really proud moment for my team.
Awesome. Ty, do you want to go quickly?
Sure. So I want to take on things worthy of my life. Like, we're not on this planet that long, right? So I'm just encouraging everyone to take on things. And I mean, I have to say that of my accomplishments, Transform Her has been one of the most meaningful, just because of the messages I get from people who have made decisions about their career and their life, who have thought about things differently because of that. And so I think, I mean, it's that impact, having things being someone who's working with a team to create the space to move things, it means a lot to me. Going forward, one of the things that I'm really focused on right now is having marketers understand their responsibility, marketers and communications professionals. So that's the next big thing that I want to work on, I'm committed to, because we as marketers socialize a lot of people. We are culture drivers. And so that's the next big swing for me, but I'm really proud for Transform Her.
Awesome. Thank you. Rachel?
I was trying to avoid your eyes if you didn't notice. I was like, don't pick me next. Let me go last. I need to take some more notes. Because I hadn't thought about this question very much. I think I'm probably just most proud of the fact that I know I leave organizations better than I found them. And this work has exponential impact. So you think about the leaders that have their aha moments in the privacy of their office or what have you, that when that leader goes to another organization, they now fully understand equity, inclusion, and diversity, right? So I think about culmination of the 20 years I've been in the Valley, the last 10 years I've been talking about this work. Like, I'm really proud of that. And I know I got a lot more to do. X has provided me a space to look at a moonshot on racial justice. So we are thinking about how can we apply technology to solving the US and probably the world's one of hardest challenges. So I'm excited to do that and really put the business case into a product for the world to see. We'll see if we're able to do it, but yeah, leaving organizations better than I find them is probably something I'm really proud of.
Awesome. Thank you. Lastly, Adrienne?
Sure. I'm honored to be on this panel with you ladies. I'm going to take it inward, right, about an accomplishment I'm really proud of. So I mentioned before, right, about I'm now forgetting it. It's imposter syndrome, excuse me. Whoa, see, it's so far gone. And when I had it comes up, it doesn't ever go away, but it was crushing. I mean, crushing. And to look back on that, right, and know that I got through it and am better because of it, is really a great one. And again, just for Black History, but like, it reminds me of like one of my favorite hymnals. Like, I look back and wonder how I got over it. You guys remember that song? But anyway, it's a good one, right? So for me, being able to overcome that, when it creeps up again, I've got muscle memory to know, oh, right, that's what I have to do. Oh, this is why this is happening. And so for me, that helps me try to do the work stuff, which is I work because I live. And so living really well is my greatest accomplishment.
Nice. Wow. Thank you so much, all of you. Super inspirational. I'm leaving here with a ton of gems, and I know the audience is as well. So thank you so much for sharing your personal experiences. Alicia Brown, Build ERG co-lead, will be reading some questions for you.
Thank you, Dominique, and thank you to the panel for dropping so many gems on us. It's been such a privilege to hear your experience and all the advice that you have for us. So one question that came in, what says, I'm sure you've all been in a place where you're the only one in the room and at the table. How do you weigh whether you continue to be the only one who looks like you in the room for the sake of paving the way and hoping to create change, or supporting your mental health and going to a place where the space has already been carved out? Thoughts?
So I do this work because it energizes me to do the work, and I would be dishonest if I didn't say it is mentally exhausting. So I do have a very aggressive self-care regimen. And then when I know that I'm going to be the only in the room, like, I have the opportunity and the privilege to invite someone with me. And so that's what keeps me going, because now I'm in a position to open up space for other people. There are days when I'm like, why am I doing this? I could have just been a dog walker. let me just put that out there because it would be a lot easier. But these are things that keep me up at night, where I'm constantly motivated because I don't want anyone else to not have the language to describe what they are experiencing. And I feel like I have a responsibility to make sure that I make places better for other people. And so that's when I do have those moments, I just refer back to my personal experience, why I do it, and then it just keeps me going.
Nice. Can I just add one little tidbit on that? I mean, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be the only. It's going to take a lot for there to be enough Black women, Black men in the room. And so I figure this is probably going to be the next 10 years of me walking into spaces or meetings or Zoom calls where it's like, yep, only chocolate bunny here. What I value though about that opportunity is that I know no one thinks like me. No one has my experience at all. Out of 12 people on this call, no one lives in this brown body with this experience. And so what I'm about to say is going to be so different and far out. And so I love that now I'm in a room where probably everybody's thinking the same and everybody's going to be like, yes, anding, and I'm about to drop it. I'm about to flip it on its head because my experience is so different. So I would say, hold on to that. Hold on to being the only. Find power in the only when you have those moments.
Thank you.
I want to just add, being that I know we're close to time, I'm sorry. But for me, it's just the room. Like if you're the only person and the room is safe and it's open-minded and it's this and it's that, that's okay to be the only one. But if you're in the room and you're the only one and it is volatile and it is dangerous for your health and it's just not what you want, leave the room, right? So don't stay there to prove anything to anyone if it doesn't work. Like any relationship, work is like that. Don't stay in that.
Thank you. So thanks, Alicia, for moderating our Q&A questions. We'd like to thank our panelists for their time today. Also, as part of Black Excellence, it's being an ally to our surrounding communities. We'd like to acknowledge the recent incidents of violence against members of the Asian community, and we want to stand in solidarity with GAIN ERG and our Asian employees during this time of adversity. We hear you, we stand for you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.